Give it 1 minute. We're good? Go ahead.
Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. Mary, could I have a roll call, please?
Here.
Marge Jorgensen,
Here.
John Cross,
Here.
Mary Coons. Here. Lisa Panzer,
Here.
Chad Peely, Gary Spielman. Here. Joanne Kojewski.
Here.
Okay, would everyone please rise and join me in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, for those of you who are wondering, Chad wasn't being able to be with us tonight because he had a prior engagement, so that's why I'm running the meeting. We'll move on to item 4, the minutes. So we're looking for review and approval for the regular meeting minutes on October 25th and the special meeting minutes on October 25th and November 1st.
I move for approval of the regular meeting minutes of October 25th and the special meetings of October 25th and November 1st.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes from both October 25th, both the regular and the special minutes from the November 1st meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carried. Good evening, everyone. It's glad to see everyone here tonight. I welcome you. It's one of our last days of nice weather, I think, for the year. So hopefully everyone's been able to get out and enjoy it for a while. All right, we'll move on to public comment. In recognition of the privacy rights of individuals and employees of the district, the Board of Education prohibits any public comment on individual employees or constituents of the district and on matters in which an employee or constituent may be identified or inferred from the comments. The Board of Education will generally not discuss or take action on non-agenda items brought by the public at that meeting. So we have 2 people signed up tonight for public comment. So first I'd like to invite Melissa Fischbach up.
Hello. I'm going to be short and sweet. I am a parent of 2 elementary students in the district, and I'm also a elementary teacher. I am truly hoping you will reconsider the mask mandate in our elementary schools tonight. It's time, and I want to applaud you for last month's changes in the middle and high school and other buildings. I thank you to those who are taking a stand. It's very valued and appreciated by many. The child vaccine is now available to those who would like to vaccinate their children. So I'm hoping you will keep that in consideration and keep that same mindset in working towards making mask optional in our elementary schools and for our youngest learners. With honest realization, I expect some of you to say it's too soon. I can respect your view while disagreeing. Maybe you could consider a different length of time for vaccines to occur and maybe consider a different time length, 2 weeks instead of a month or the next board meeting from now. It's also indoor sports time, and it's time for our gym classes to start moving indoor. And as a parent of 2 active students in Positively Hoops, it's a struggle for them. They're practicing in mask. They're running at full intensity for an hour and a half, twice a week. They have their first tournament in Beaver Dam this weekend, where they're going to be playing very physically for extended lengths of time. So I know it was brought up in the past at a board meeting. I'm just asking you to consider, are there possible ways to change the masking of those times and possibly give our kids the chance to not wear those while they're participating in high intensity sports? That's all I have. I thank you for all you do and for your time.
Thank you. Okay, I would like to next invite Nikki Garcia Henke.
I too am going to be just very quick because I appreciate the time that you guys give, and wanted to touch on just a few things that the previous speaker had also spoke on. I want to thank all of the board members that did make it possible for our middle school and high school kids to have optional masking. I cannot tell you how I have talked to a number of middle school and high school kids in the last couple of weeks, and the dynamics of their classrooms have been very different, I hear. So, on a positive note. So I want to thank each of you that did make that possible. I also have talked to a few of them. I have a lot of friends' kids that are in schools, and also my child, and a lot of friends and whatnot. And the distraction level, I hear, is unbelievably different. Like the mask police and everything else within the school. So I can't imagine what it is for our elementary kids. Them being especially, you know, at a less mature level and just speaking and whatnot. And I just can't imagine what it's going to be like Melissa had said, when, you know, recesses are brought inside and, I can't even imagine, because I know how chaotic elementary classrooms and buildings are anyways. And now also that the vaccine is available for younger students, how much time are we going to give people to allow, you know, to have their children get vaccinated? Because if that is your choice and that is something that you believe works so well, I just feel like, how much longer are we going to let this go? So I want to thank you all again for what you do, each and every one of you, because I can't imagine that any of your spots are very easy. But again, thank you for your time, and hopefully we can touch base on this again very soon.
Thank you. That wraps up public comment for tonight. So we'll move on to announcements. 7.1.
The board may recess into closed session per Wisconsin statute 19.85, parent 1, parent C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, specifically to discuss specific employees. The board will reconvene into open session for the possible transaction of business and adjournment.
Thank you, Bev. All right, move on to 8.0 agenda. Everyone should have a copy of the agenda in front of them. If there's no additions or corrections, I'd entertain a motion for the adoption of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carried. Move on to reports presented by administration. 9.1, return to learn update.
Good evening. I'm going to take the board and those that are watching through the similar update to what I had provided a couple of weeks ago with updated metrics and information. So again, goals, just to provide the update on current community metrics, talk about some specific realities associated with the districts, as well as some other area districts, and then provide an opportunity for questions, comments, and discussion. So as far as monitoring COVID-19, continue to have our weekly meetings with the Dodge County Health Department. Those are very positive, good to have, a good opportunity for a lot of discussion, particularly with the superintendents. As far as our district boundary reports are concerned, total confirmed over the last 7 days, 60, again, in our district boundary, again, not our district itself, but in the boundary area. And that was what was reported as of Friday. Total confirmed over the last 7 days on the Friday before the last board meeting was 92. Positive 7-day average would be 8.57, and the positive 7-day average in comparison to the Friday before the last board meeting, 13.29. So keep in mind too, those are rolling averages. So every day there's actually a new 7-day average. So those numbers can swing, particularly with those lower numbers when you're looking at them. Hospitalization trajectory has not changed, either as hospitalization associated with ICU. One thing that I did note, just for context, which I think is a good thing in the region, because they categorize the region of the hospital. So the South Central region, that's what our hospital is in. Pretty much across the state, it's shown no significant change over the last few weeks. except in the region just to our north, which I don't recall off the top of my head if that's just the central region or whatnot, but that's like Fond du Lac up into the valley. They actually have a reduction, which is good. I think that's positive for the state at least. So this is a graph that I did not provide at the last meeting. I provided the same data, which I'll show in the next graph. This is a chart that Dodge County puts out, and we'd always kind of reference that because it shows, one of the things that it also does is it shows the different categories. So there's green, yellow, orange, and red, and that ties back to the Harvard model, which does align somewhat with the CDC model. I mean, they're not contradicting one another, but they use a little bit different context. So what that shows is based on, it shows trajectory, obviously you can see, and the good news is for us that it has been going down, albeit slightly, in the county, and then it does show that it's still at that tipping point or what they would consider very high, based on those particular metrics and reports by, in this case, again, this is the Harvard model. So again, the reason that I did not show it at the last meeting was because it wasn't available, wasn't put out, and Dodge County Health Department's doing a great job, but like many of us, they're short-staffed and their folks are scrambling, so they didn't have this particular chart available at the time. So this is the one that anybody can go, you can find the other one on the Dodge County website, I put the source, but also this is the Department of Health, DHS website from the state, so people can go and they can select by county, they can pull all the information that I pulled by district, they can look at municipalities, etc. This is the county one that I did show last time, and again, what we're seeing is some continued improvements in Dodge County proper. And that shows, again, that's from March of 20 all the way through now. School guidance updates, there have been none. There have been no significant guidance updates. So again, all of these different layered approach measures are still recommended by the CDC, AAP, and then DHS and DPI kind of have joint recommendations associated with school guidance. The one thing that has changed, obviously, between now and our previous meeting was the reference to vaccination access for the 5 to 11 age group. It's not widely accessible at this point in time. They think that it's going to become more widely accessible later in the month and possibly early December, kind of how it goes through that whole process. Doesn't mean people aren't going to be able to get access to it sooner than that, but just as far as widespread access. And then one of the things that we did talk about as a group was just the fact that we're going to see more people are going to be consulting with their primary caregiver for their child, perhaps, and a lot of those vaccinations might be seen taking place in those types of settings. As far as activity is concerned, for us, this takes us through the whole school year up until this point. So the last time we talked, it was 3 staff, 24 students with a 0.72%, again, under 1%. Currently, we're at 3 staff, 32 students, 0.93%. And then the district snapshot comparison. So the week of the 18th, which was the week prior to our Monday board meeting, that's when I get the most updated data from our other area districts. And again, districts report out, some report out twice a week, some report out on Mondays, some report out on Fridays. But this is from the week, their week average from the week prior. So this is from last week's numbers in comparison. You see that some districts have moved up, some districts have moved down as far as their percent positives, but generally speaking, relatively low given the context. Questions, comments, discussion?
Just a question on the very high level that the Dodge County Health Department talks about.
Yep.
What is their recommendation for that particular level?
So this graph, and this particular graph that I referenced uses the term tipping point, which is that Harvard model, and then the Dodge County level is still considered technically in phase 3. So if you look at that, there's anything referenced from masking indoors to stay-at-home orders. There's all sorts of things that are referenced as part of that phase, reduced concentrations of population. Our county has never ordered anything, obviously, but their recommendations for us and for schools have not changed from the beginning of the year or this summer on. It still remains the same. And I would not suspect that their recommendations would change until that number would change categories. So I think, just a reference back, I think the accelerated spread would align with high, and technically, like most counties, we're still considered in very high based on the metrics and how those are aligned from those organizations.
But other than the exception of one school on one measurement on your other listing, nothing was over 1%. You know, we're at a
Correct.
third of 1%.
Correct.
So in my mind, it's only been 2 weeks since we met, and there hasn't been significant changes in any of the numbers. But the vaccine for elementary age kids just became available. And I think I would like to wait and give them a month to find it, get it, and if that gives them, you know, the comfort level with not masking, then I think bring it back to discuss next month and a possible motion for removing it. But I just feel like that's going to be what gives a lot of parents the comfort level that masking could be removed at the elementary levels. So I think it's too soon to push to change it until there's, I heard on the news tonight, one school is having a vaccine clinic, but that's the first one in this area. And like you said, I'm sure they're going to be ready to roll it out fast because they've known this was coming, but it's going to take a little bit.
Yeah, I agree with Joanne too. I know we had some comment tonight about, you know, considering it, but I just think we really need to give it some time and get it in the hands of the people that want to get it and look at it here another time soon. I think that's fair.
Mark, I would just like to also ask if we, with the change to the middle school and the high school,
Yes.
have we seen any disciplinary actions that have been needed because of bullying kids who are deciding to still wear masks?
We have had a few issues. I've spoken with both Mr. Loss and Mr. Tronson about those. They've been relatively isolated, and I'm confident that the administration has done a good job following up with those particular situations. Unfortunately, we deal with harassment, rudeness, bullying on a number of different topics, number of different issues. I think, you know, this change gave people who, and we know why they're bullying, that they probably need to look inside, you know, look at themselves a little bit more because they're not feeling particularly good about some things, but I think it gave them an excuse or another opportunity. But I'm happy to say that generally speaking, although one incident is too many, generally speaking, it's been very manageable and it's been low in number.
My understanding is, though, that you don't have a tolerance for it. If you know about it, it's
No.
it's going to be dealt with. So if there's some going on that you don't know about it, you would like to know.
Correct. Yeah, that's the most important thing. And the most important thing is for people to report it to the school administration, or to a staff member at the school right away so they can follow through. And I appreciate, I mean, we get a lot of information. Sometimes board members hear things, but I think one of the most important things we can do is just encourage people to let them know, because they're the ones that are going to follow up, investigate, and then leverage any appropriate discipline that's necessary. And I think the kids have done a really good job of policing themselves. And I think one of the things that this has taught us is just a general need and a reminder that we have to value other people's perspectives and opinions and treat them with respect regardless of what they're wearing or not wearing.
It's been a good opportunity to put that into practice.
Anything else for Mark? Any other discussion at all?
Thanks for your diligence in continuing to pull all these numbers for us every time.
Thank you.
Alrighty, thank you, Mark. All right, we'll move on to 9.2, School of the Month presentation, Lincoln Elementary.
Hello, everyone. How are we? Last nice day, I heard the S word is in the forecast for later this week. Is that true? Oof, all right. Yeah, it's been good though. So, Thank you to the board members that came out for our coffee chat and our tour and to spend some time at Lincoln. For the rest of you, you're going to get some insights as to how we're doing and what we're doing right now this year. Obviously, a very big change from last year, right? When I was in front of you, we were talking about how we were running virtual and in person and how we had gotten kind of thrown into that. And we have everyone back, which has been really, really great. So just to kind of walk you through and where we're at, we're going to start out with our ELA goal and what our focus has been at Lincoln. So our primary, one of our main areas that we were focusing on is vocabulary. That has habitually been an area that we have not performed in the area that we would like to, or it's been our lowest performing strand for ELA. So our guiding coalition did a lot of work with this. We spent a lot of time this summer prepping and preparing and leading. Our guiding coalition is made up of one staff member from each grade level. I also have several members of my PPS team on there, my school social workers and my school psych, and also a special ed teacher. So that's almost all my staff, right? So it's about half of them. And we probably meet the most regular of all of our teams. Our guiding coalition has been great in regards to they have planned and implemented all of the professional development as it relates to our school goals this year. I've done very little. They've taken that, the teacher leadership roles. So October 1st was our first in-service day that we had. The guiding coalition planned and led that time. We did some vocabulary share strategies where we broke them down into groups K2 and 3-5. They talked about the different ways that they teach vocabulary on a regular basis, which was a great moment because even as teachers, we have all of these tools in our toolbox, right? But it's so easy to get lost in what we do every day and forget those great tools that we had. So for everyone to be able to share out what that looked like and talk about those good strategies that they had, it was just a great reminder of those strategies that we've already been taught, but that we maybe don't use on a regular basis. And then we really focused on developing activities for students using context clues. So if they read a text, can they identify a vocabulary word, a meaning of a word within the text, but not actually have it say the definition is there. They have to use clues from what they're reading in order to determine what that word is. That looks very different at the little level, right? They might be using clues from a picture to gather what that word means. So the guiding coalition came up with that strategies that we were going to use context clues in order for us to focus on our improvement of understanding vocabulary. Laid out our plan, which was in week 1, we're going to practice utilizing that in a small group. And week 2, week 3, being able to do that individually, providing feedback. And then week 4, we went through and collected data for our first whole school progress monitoring for our school success plan. So that came up pretty fast, but here's where we were at. So we ended up with 69% of our students that were proficient in both identifying not only the definition of the word, but also being able to correctly identify the context clues. So what in the text led them to that definition, which is great because if you look at our fall data from the iReady, we had 32% proficient in the fall. So we're making good gains. Our spring data from last spring was whole school, we were at 61%. So we're hoping putting in these strategies and our checks along the way that we will continue to grow that area that we have maybe not performed as strongly. K2 had our highest success, which was great. And the strategies that we were using within the classroom, even though we're now focusing on some math pieces for our school goal, these strategies are continuing. I still can go in and I can hear them talk about, well, what clues, how did you get that word? Go back to your text. What clues did you use to figure that out? So they're definitely utilizing those strategies along the way. So another big thing that is very new to us at the elementary level, or at least the name, so to speak, is our use of workshops in both ELA and math. So the picture on the left, you can actually see this is our kindergarten literacy workshop. They take all of the kids and they have several different stations that they're going to go to. They bring actually both of our kindergarten classes in together. Miss Kinsey's pointing out that Miss Gray's picture right there is an actual station, so she's got a little photo there, right? So we utilize our reading support teacher as well, and each of the teachers might grab groups based upon what skills that those students need, and also to do some reteaching and small group teaching as well. So the kids rotate through all of these different stations. They have tasks that are created. They go through and they teach what do those tasks look like. It's great because you all of a sudden start to hear all of these 5, 6, 7-year-olds having this great discourse about literacy and math, and they're talking about their thinking, and it's probably some of the more enjoyable times throughout the day. So down on the right, you'll see it's one of the stations. They were working on some handwriting there. So
How often,
go
excuse
ahead.
me, how often do the two groups get together?
Every day.
Every day?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. All right, so this next one, we're going to see a video, and this is one of our kindergarteners at her station. So,
Alessandra, what are you doing here? What are you cutting out right now? Fish. Where are you going to glue that one? How did you know that? Say that again. It starts with what sound? Say the sound again. Good job. Nice job.
so it's just one of the stations. You can see they're working independently. Typically, they're talking to each other about what they're doing. There's sometimes a station where they're clapping out their syllables, and they are just little independent workers. It's great to see. So. Math, we had just rolled into our math focus for November. So we started with ELA. We're now moving into our math one. Numbers and operations is our focus for the month of November. So we just met. Guiding Coalition again ran our time in November. We we spent some time reviewing our vocabulary data and specifically getting down to the student by student. What did we see? What did we notice? What did we take away? We also did some workshop share within the whole group. What's working well? What can we learn? Because what could we learn from a kindergarten class? What could we learn from a 4th grade class? And just being able to understand that workshop looks very different in each level. And then each team for the month of November had to pick an essential standard in the domain of numbers and operation. It's a little bit different. Reading standards, they tend to be very similar. It's just the complexity of text changes, whereas in math, the standards look very different. So they are identifying an essential standard in that domain, and then within their co-teaching, the 2 grade levels, they'll pick how they're going to progress monitor and then have a weekly focus. So similar to kind of that progression that we saw with October, we're going to do the same thing in November, and then we will progress monitor where they're at the end of November as well. So same thing with math. You'll see some small group teacher directed time where they might be grabbing kids to focus on that. The little chart on the right hand side, that's the 1st grade math. They call them centers. It's the same idea, math workshop, telling the students where they need to go and what they need to be doing. So this next little video you're going to see is one of the stations in our math workshop in 1st grade.
All right. Can you guys tell me how does supervising war work?
Alright, so basically you each get the same amount of cards,
Okay.
and you need to fold down a card like that,
Okay.
and then if you get the same amount, and then if everybody gets the same amount, then you
Yeah.
have to do it again.
So wait a second. There's not a number on this card. How do you know what number this is?
Then by finger, see, you can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Oh, so who won in this one then?
Then go. Alright, now go ahead. One of your cards is off to the side for now. And then we need an Addie
And you and Addie are gonna. So now it's just you and Addie to see, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Ready, Addie? Oh, so who won? Addie. So then you get it kind of like a go fish, huh? Wait. Now I have a question. I see these boxes. So what do these show?
0.
What does this one show, Jose?
5.
How do you know that?
Because there's 5 dots. And there's 5 right here. It's a 10.
Oh, that's a 10 frame.
And then covered all of those. So the 5.
Gotcha, thank you.
So suvatizing is just a quick way to be able to visualize numbers very, very fast. So you might see the dots, you might see the fingers, you might see an actual number. How can you identify numbers very quickly within your head? You might also be using that with patterns. The dots might be in different areas, and you're visualizing those numbers and just really working on those different that counting strategies. So. Our third goal was our family and student connectedness, and this was big for us because 20% of our school is new this year, which is a huge number. So things that we are doing, things that we are working on with our PTO, with our families, with our staff, with our community. You can see our firefighters came out and did our presentation for fire awareness. We do a walking school bus every day at Lincoln, but we did on our walk to school day we're a neighborhood school, which is great. We have very few bus kids in general, but many of the kids that you see in this picture are actually bus kids that come in and walk to school with us on our walk to school day. So we send all of our staff out to different places, and we all encourage everyone to walk to school daily. Mrs. Regie, who's one of our TAs, does a walking school bus every day where she's got like 15 to 20 kids that walk every day with her. So we very much appreciate that. Then we have our fun run up there, which was a great success. We had so many of our parents come out and cheer everyone on, make signs and little pom-poms. It was great. And then our PTO, just such a really great help with that as well. We also started our buddy classrooms, which we love. Those had to go away last year with COVID, and we reinstated those this year. So we pair an older classroom with a younger classroom. They work on modeling, they work on communication, they work on teamwork. This last week was our first week doing that. So they just got together and did small little crafts or playing or different things like that. Our next time that we get together, they actually will be making placemats for the nursing homes for Thanksgiving. So they'll be focusing in on that and working together. Some of the pictures you might see might be siblings, might be just friends, but they all enjoy working with the different classes. It's probably, I think, their favorite time of the day. We also changed our Student of the Month recognition. I didn't put that one up here, but we very similar, kind of got the idea from when we would do a state send-off here at the high school where we would have the kids all come to into the hall and clap. We do the same thing for our Student of the Month recognition. We do a parade where we bring all the kids down and we parade all of our kids through the halls, and all of the kids line the hallways and clap, and I go through and play music and say all their names and congratulate them on either being a Lincoln learner or a Lincoln leader for the month. So that's been a new way to recognize our students of the month. Otherwise, they've just always normally got certificates, and we wanted to make sure that we were celebrating them as much as we could. So our goal, some of our action steps for our connectedness goal for the month of October were that we would have 100% of our families connected. Now that meant that either they were on Dojo and connected, which was our main form of communication at the elementary level, or we knew how the parents wanted to be communicated with, because not all of our families are on Dojo. So we knew exactly which email or phone number. We had a different alternate way to communicate with them, which we've done. We had asked each of our families or each of our teachers to make sure they're posting at least one time a week on that school story so that we're sharing with our families what's going on within each week at school. And then again, hosting the different family events, our fun run, trunk or treat, buddy classrooms. We're pairing up with Beaver Dam Police Department to do a social media presentation in December to some of our parents too. So we're continually looking for ways to make sure we bridge that gap and bring people in as much as possible. So really where we're at, I think we're at yellow on all three of our goals. I think it's a work in progress, but I'm very excited to see the gains that we've made in just the few short weeks that we've had during school. So, any questions?
How often does your guiding coalition get together then?
Oh, I wish it was often, because they're just phenomenal, phenomenal leaders. We meet twice a month. So once before school, once after school, trying to make sure that we're meeting both the needs. But we could be meeting more often just because we're planning all the PD. We're also, creating those next steps. We're just trying to stay ahead of it right now. So, but we could be meeting more often.
And I know you've gotten more of some, what do I want to say? More of special needs children at Lincoln School, or?
Our population's changed a little bit.
Changed, yeah.
Yep. But we're really great at getting some of the supports in place and everything like that. So we've had a lot of change. I mean, if you consider where we're at last year, where we only had 100 kids on site, we're back to 210. 20% are new. So we have a lot of newness. We have all of our staff that we hired last year that was virtual. Many of them some of them are back teaching in person now, but they hadn't taught with us in person before. So there's a lot of new things. Even our staff meetings, we didn't have our staff ever on site last year because some of our faculty just taught virtually. So just to have our people in the building has made a difference. So.
With your score on the ELA score that from your start of your school year, you took that within like the first, week or two of school?
Yeah, and that's an iReady score, right? So the percentage of where we're at the end of October is based upon some teacher designed, but similar to what you would see. So I don't know if it's necessarily an apples to apples, but it's based off of the same type of a question you would get on a vocabulary standard on iReady.
And I didn't want to minimize your grade score, but I'm like, boy, for all kids that weren't in school last year, just to be getting back to school and get back to
huge
routine and online
learning,
testing, I'm sure
correct.
affected their fall score as well.
Absolutely.
So-
Just learning how to be students again, right?
So you had a bit of a curve, and now it's much better, I'm sure.
Yeah, we're getting there each and every day. So
Awesome. Thank you. That was a great presentation.
Anything else for Crystal, anyone?
Thank
Well,
you.
thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on to 9.3 recognitions. I don't know if anyone on the board has any recognitions they want to do before we turn it over to Mark.
So with Veterans Day coming up on Thursday, I would like to recognize all of the veterans in our community. In addition, our Beaver Dam High School is once again reinstated the National Honor Society Veterans Day program, which will be occurring as well on Thursday. So recognizing those students in the National Honor Society for their commitment once again to the veterans of the community.
Thank you.
I wanted to recognize all of the people that applied for the board vacancy. It's a lot to put yourself out there, and I appreciate their time and their commitment to the district and their desire to just serve and to make the district a better place.
Thank you, Joanne. Anything else? Mark?
We've got a few. First, Fiddler on the Roof, the musical, kicks off this week, so it actually kicks off on Veterans Day. The performances during the week, the 11th through the 13th, are at 7:30, and then on the 14th, it's at 2 p.m. 57 students and 17 adults are part of making that production go, so it's pretty exciting. Also, BDMS First Lego League Robotics Team, the Mega Minds, got first place at their regional, which their regional is actually in Milwaukee, which means they go to the sectional, and the sectional is in Waukesha. So I'd love to see the shape of this regional, but no, it works. It's pretty awesome, and they got first place, and they also won, it's called the Champions Award as part of it. So, and we believe, I talked to Melissa Hemling, we believe that might be a first to get that particular award. And as people know, there's different kind of threads of recognition. There's 11 students that are part of that team, and 10 are part of the kind of the competition core that goes out. So those are great numbers. Want to congratulate the kiddos, and then thank Melissa Hemling for her commitment, and then the parent volunteers that kind of have a rotation, but there's always parents that are helping out part of that. And then last but certainly not least, it's November, so it's Thanksgiving month, and we will not have a board business meeting again before Thanksgiving. So I just want to thank the board for the work that they're doing and their support, and I also want to thank the staff and all the staff for the heavy lift this year. I don't think we completely anticipated the energy, the uniqueness, all the different things, getting kids kind of back on track, learning how to be students in a different environment again, a more normal environment, and just kind of transitioning back from what, that previous time had been for them. And a special thanks to our subs who are part of that great work that all of our staff is doing. And that staff includes staff, teachers, and administrators, of course. And then special thanks to our nurses. So I know we talked quite a bit last year, a lot about our nursing staff, but they are not less busy this year, and in some ways it's even more unique for them because everybody's back. So that means they're taking care of all of those other needs that are associated with what school nursing used to be before the particular challenges that we're working through now. And they've been very busy, and then they're testing on top of it, and then they're also talking with families about close contact situations or other things that happen outside of school. And it's not an easy road for them, and I really wanted to thank them also. That's all I got.
Okay, thank you everyone for your recognitions. All right, we'll move on to reports presented by the Board of Education. 10.1, Board of Education Student Representative Report. Sadie, you're up.
Hello, everyone, again. I have a couple things that have been going on at the high school lately, this past week and coming up this week. I was going to talk about the musical. I think Mr. DeStefano covered that well.
You can expand.
Yeah, that's running from the 11th to the 14th. And you can buy tickets online this year, so I don't know if they had that before, but I know they're highlighting that. And the high school had a blood drive last week, ran by the Key Club. That had a good turnout. And then we have an upcoming blood drives in the winter and spring. And if we get enough people, our school gets scholarship money. So if in the future, I'd encourage everyone to come donate blood. Those will be ran by the student council and the senior class. Next, the Seckle scrimmage happened. I don't know if anyone saw pictures or was there, but it was a really good event. I think everyone had fun, the crowd, the players. It was just a really good experience, and it got a lot of school involvement. The band was there, and we had a student section, and our program was designed by our graphic arts class here at the high school, so a lot of people were involved with that. And I'm also going to touch on the Veterans Day ceremony. That's going to be this Thursday at 9 here at the high school. It's open to the public, so I'd encourage any veterans who are interested to come. We will be wearing masks at the ceremony, everyone there, and we'll have speakers and then some refreshments afterwards. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, any questions for Sadie at all before we move on? All right, well, thank you. All right, 10.2, board election, April 2022.
There will be 4 seats up for election on April 5th, 2022. The incumbents who will be, are Bev, Mary, and Chad. And 3 of the seats are for a 3-year term, and 1 is for a 1-year term. The term for the vacancy filled in February was until April 2023. The term for the current vacancy expires with the April 2022 election. So that term will be a 3-year one. The candidate who receives the lowest number of votes will receive the 1-year term. And if any of the incumbents do not intend to run for re-election, they need to file non-candidacy papers by 5 p.m. on December 24th. Incumbents and any members of the public seeking election need to file candidacy papers by 5 p.m. on January 4th, 2022.
Thank you, Marge. Any questions at all? No? All right, thanks again, Marge. All right, we'll move on to the Operations Committee report.
Operations did not meet in the time period between our last meeting and this one.
Okay, thank you. Teaching and learning?
Again, teaching and learning did not meet in the time period between the last meeting and this one.
All righty, thank you. All right, we'll go on to 10.5, board engagement.
Well, last Monday, we got together and interviewed our candidates, and I believe we were all there. And again, thanks to everyone. It was great to have that opportunity.
Anyone else?
I was at the Lincoln School Coffee as well as the tour of Lincoln School, and it was very nice to be able to interact and have some conversation with some of the staff that came to the earlier portion. And then, of course, we had a few opportunities, a little bit more limited when we were doing the tour, to interact with staff. And we did have, I believe, at least one pure parent who was there, which was nice too. Very involved in their PTO, and it was good to hear more about what the PTOs were doing in the building and with the building. And it was just, as always, it's probably one of the most wonderful opportunities you can have to go through a building when the staff and the students are in there and doing things, and you can see some of what we hear about in action. So I appreciate the time that everybody took out of their days, as well as the time from the principal just to get even a short talk still takes time, but to give us some of the highlights of what's going on at Lincoln. So thanks to all.
Just continue with Bev, it was really nice to have the staff at Lincoln, the number of staff that showed up just to talk to us. I thought that was very nice.
Anyone else?
Mary and I just were at the wellness meeting and got a lot of great ideas with the crew that's working on this in regard to staff and things that we can get them engaged in good wellness. And we're looking at some options too for to kind of direct that committee also to talk about student wellness and things that can be offered there.
Anything else? Okay, well, thank you to everyone that shared. All right, we'll move on to 10.6, appointment of the new board member, new Board of Education member. At this time, we will work through the process of appointing a new board member for a vacant seat. The newly appointed board member will serve through April of 2022. The board held interviews for interested candidates on November 1st. First, I would ask that the first ballot referencing the 6 committee members who were interviewed be distributed to all current board members. Each board member will identify their top 2 choices for the vacancy and sign the ballot. Ballots will then be collected and counted by Mark and Mary. Finalists will then be presented for consideration of final ballot voting. The top 2 candidates will be considered the finalists. I want to note that in the event there is a 2-way tie for the top vote getting finalists, both the top vote getting candidates will be considered the 2 finalists. In the event that there is a tie for the second finalist slot, the board would then cast a ballot between those tied for confirmation of the second finalist position. In the event there's a 3-way tie, board members will recast a preliminary ballot considering only the 3 top vote getting candidates that tied and vote their top 2 from that selection.
Lucky you.
After you sign it, you can just fold it. Yeah. Gotta stay positive about the factors. So this is what we could find.
Okay, the top two finalists were Gerald Lund and Maria Mason. At this time, before second ballots are distributed, and because there's a potential for a tie or non-majority vote, the board will need to agree through motion and approval of the number of rounds the board would vote in the event of a tie before determining the board was unable to make a decision, at which point the decision moves to the board president for appointment. The board president would then make the appointment at a future date.
In recognition of the possibility of a tie vote, I move that the board conduct up to 2 rounds of voting to determine the seat appointment for the vacant position. And in so doing, the board recognizes that if a majority vote is not obtained, the decision moves to appointment by the board president.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and second. Mary, could I have a roll call, please?
Marge Jorgensen,
Yes.
John Kraus,
Yes.
Mary Coombs, yes, Lisa Panzer,
Yes.
Gary Scanlon,
Yes.
Joanne Tajewski,
Yes.
Bud Dills.
Yes.
Okay, then. At this time, I'd ask that each board member receive a second ballot. Board members will write in the name of the finalists they wish to fill the vacancy and then sign their ballot. Ballots will be collected and counted by Mark and Mary. The person who receives the majority of the votes through a signed ballot will be appointed to the vacant seat. Okay. Maria Mason has received the majority of the votes and is hereby appointed as our newest board member. They will be seated at their first board meeting on December 13th. We also invite her to attend the board workshop on November 15th regarding the 5-year facility plan. Congratulations, Maria. Also, I'd like to publicly thank the board for their time and effort with the interview and selection process, as well as thank all candidates for expressing their interest in serving as a board member. Mark, you'll be contacting our newest board member directly to schedule orientation and oath of office in the near future to be completed before the December board meeting. All right. We'll move on to 11.0, move into closed session.
I move the board recess into closed session per Wisconsin statute 19.85, parent 1, parent C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, specifically to discuss specific employees. The board will reconvene into open session for the possible transaction of business and adjournment.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to move into closed session. Could I have a roll call vote, please, Mary?
John Kraus,
Yes.
Mary Prince. Yes. Lisa Hanson,
Yes.
Gary Spillman,
Yes.
John Chacheski,
Yes.
Doug Dilley,
Yes.
Mark Schwartz.
Yes.
All right.
Same room.
Dan?
Oh, yeah, thank you, appreciate it.